Hi everyone, it's Radhika here again. Okay, so today we're going to change gears up a little bit and we're going to start getting into the med school prep of these video series. Okay, so we'll be talking about undergraduate studies specifically here today. In today's video specifically, first, I want to introduce to you a few questions about what kind of majors you should be aiming for. And then in the second part, I want to leave you off with some good advice regarding choosing your majors and your courses. All right, let's get started. Okay, so as an instructor, and even as a test prep company, something that Prep 101 gets a lot are questions along the lines of, hey, what is the relevance of the major I choose to medicine? What are the kind of difficulty levels of the courses that I should be selecting? Should I be taking really hard courses? And will the medical schools that I actually apply to like that? Forget about those courses. Should I be choosing a really hard major? Will a physics major or a bioengineering major make me a more eligible candidate than perhaps a biology major or something in humanities or social sciences? And what about the prestige of the university I select? Will going to UTM Mississauga campus be a better idea than going to U of T St. George? So you know what? These are all really great questions. And the answer to all of these questions is the same. If you're asking me how important these things are, I'm going to have to say, and this is something you like, not really important at all. None of these factors really matter when it comes to considering your acceptance into medical school. Now, what's the one thing that really, really matters? Your GPA. Your GPA matters a lot. But we'll talk about that in a later video. I want to focus on why it is that your major doesn't matter so much, because this is kind of a counterintuitive and very surprising question for most pre-meds. So when it comes to choosing your major, I'm going to say it one more time. When it comes to your acceptance to medical school, your major does not matter. And there are a few reasons for this. Consider this. In 2012, the AAMC published that 51% of the matriculants to medical school, that is, the people who got in and accepted their offers to medical school, majored in the biological sciences. That means the remainder 49% did not major in a biological science at all. Yes, some of them may be majoring in the physical sciences, in humanities, in Spanish, in accounting, in music, and etc. Now, what you can find then and conclude from there is that almost half of the people that get into medical school do not choose to major in the biological sciences. Yet many pre-meds seem to think that they must take a biological or life science major in order to be a successful matriculant to medical school. Not the case based on that statistic. And by the way, that statistic almost repeats itself every year. If you want to look at some Canadian statistics, I urge you to go to McMaster University's undergrad medical education page, where they specifically tell you about the type of majors that each of their matriculants had for every entering year for like the past 5 years. Okay, so carrying forward a little, I said 51% were biological sciences majors, the others were not. Now, when they actually looked at these candidates further, what they found was that regardless of major, all of these people had pretty much the same GPA and the same MCAT score. As in, yes, there were some minor differences, but they were completely non-significant. Okay, so your GPA doesn't matter. Now, that is not the equivalent of saying that you shouldn't be completing your prerequisite courses. So let me rephrase that question actually, or let me rephrase that statement. Your major does not matter as long as you have fulfilled all the correct criteria for the prerequisites that you must take in order to become a successful applicant to medical school. Now, the medical schools will have you study in the basic sciences whatever they think is necessary for you to become a successful physician. So having a credit in clinical biochemistry won't necessarily help you get into medical school. It'll help you do well in medical school because you'll have covered this material in an undergraduate course already, but you by no means actually need it in order to be a successful applicant. Okay, now, just a little bit further, your major may not matter in being accepted to medical school, but it does matter on a little bit of a personal level. So you want to choose a major that basically fits 3 criteria. First of all, you want to take into consideration the difficulty level of your major. Don't choose one that's ridiculously hard, where it's hard for you to achieve a very high GPA. Don't choose something that's too easy, where you're not really challenging yourself either. Second, you must take your interest into consideration. If you do not have a genuine interest in biomechanical engineering, doesn't matter how great you think it'll be for medical school, don't choose it. It's a good likelihood that because you don't have a profound interest in that subject, that your marks may suffer just because you won't be interested in studying the material over the 3 or 4 years of your undergraduate studies. The third factor that you must take into consideration is convenience. And what I mean here is that most medical schools do have a list of prerequisite courses that you must take. Now, if choosing a major allows you to hit a certain number of those prerequisite courses, then it's a probably convenient major for you to take, because when you're applying, you'll have taken most of the prerequisite courses as it is. Now, this shouldn't be your only factor. You want to choose, even if it's outside of your major's requirements, you can still take courses that'll fulfill your prerequisite courses that the medical schools actually ask of you. Okay, so once again, that is, you're choosing a major based on the difficulty level that suits you, your interest level in that major, and how convenient it is in terms of actually gearing you up towards hitting all the prerequisites that the medical schools you're applying to require. Okay, so a little bit of talk about major. I'm going to change gears a little and offer you some advice about your courses. Now, the courses that you take throughout your undergraduate studies are extremely important. Major, not so much. So we at Prep 101 kind of brainstormed what kind of advice we want to leave you off with, and we came up with the following. So when you're taking a course, you want to choose something that's actually going to challenge you. Challenge yourself, because when you feel a little bit of difficulty, you have a sense of motivation to do well. But that doesn't mean you challenge yourself to the extent where you're kind of performing poorly. You got to find the right balance. Okay, so that's what I mean. Challenge yourself, but be strategic. Do not compromise your success. Don't take a 4th-year fluid mechanics class just because you feel like the need to prove to yourself that you can get a 4.0 from that class. It won't really be enjoyable for you. You just might find it so difficult at some point that you may not do very well on it. Make sure, and I cannot stress this piece of advice enough, that you take a full course load. When you take a full course load, what medical schools really see is, hey, this candidate can take 100% course load, take 5 courses a semester or 10 courses amongst 2 semesters, and you know what? They can still show academic integrity. They can show that they can do well academically, and on top of that, they've got great extracurriculars. Take a full course load. It speaks to your abilities in terms of handling the stress level. Furthermore, if that wasn't reason enough, many Canadian schools also have a GPA adjustment formula. Now, in order to be eligible to have these adjustments applied to your application, you must have taken a full course load. If you want an example of what a GPA adjustment formula looks like, go to the University of Toronto Undergrad Medical Education page, and you'll see the criteria that's applied if you're an applicant who's applying after 3 years, 2 or 3 years of complete undergraduate studies, having taken 100% course load, they actually drop some of your full year course load marks, the lowest full year course marks. So what you see is an actual GPA boost. Now, you're only eligible to have this adjustment criteria applied to you if you take 100% course load. The moment you take a 90 or 80% course load, During the academic year, you're no longer eligible for this adjustment formula to be applied. Okay, so moving on. Make sure you take some basic science courses. And what we really mean by this is to make sure that you've taken all the correct prerequisites to be a good candidate. Medical schools don't want to see that you've got an excellent GPA and an excellent MCAT score, but you haven't taken the basic requirements for you to actually matriculate into their program. And this one's really important too. Take killer courses in the summer. Now, there's a few reasons for this. Okay, the first one being that when we think about killer courses, we know that they're killer for us either because that subject is a weakness or we have no interest in it, but we know we have to take these courses anyways. When you take killer courses in the summer, guess what? You don't have another 5 courses or 4 courses that you're trying to manage simultaneously. So you can give 100% of your focus to this one course that you already find difficult. Okay, so a lot of focus usually leads to the meaning that you're going to do better in that class. Now, on top of that though, many medical schools do not take summer courses into consideration when they're calculating your GPA. Yes, that's not a joke. Let me repeat that one more time. Many medical schools do not take summer courses into consideration when they're calculating your GPA for that year. So what they'll see is if that course was a prerequisite, that you completed the prerequisite requirement. What you got on that course, though, your actual numerical value or your alphabetical value is irrelevant to them. So one more time, make sure you take killer courses in the summer. In taking your courses and choosing your courses throughout your 3 or 4 years, one thing medical schools always look for is academic progression. They want to see that every year that you were enrolled at university, that you had a bit of a higher GPA than the previous year. What this shows is that you've picked up and honed in on certain strategies that make you a good studier or make you a good student. Now, offset low marks in the science courses. If you take a science course, especially one that happens to be a prerequisite requirement to a medical school application, and you don't do too well on it, not all is lost yet. There's one way you can kind of make it up to them. You can say, hey, I took biology in first year. I was a first year student. I didn't really know how to study for university because studying for university is very different than studying for high school courses. And as a result, I got a C in biology. Now, it's a prerequisite to the medical school I'm applying for, and they're going to see that I did quite poorly in it. What you can do in this situation is offset this mark. Take an upper level, maybe a little bit of an advanced biology course in 3rd or 4th year, and do excellent in it this time. There's a good chance that you'll actually do better in it because now you know how to study properly and efficiently for undergraduate exams. So you can offset low marks and you can indicate to the schools that in fact you do have the right kind of skills to excel in biology or any other course that you may not have done well in early on. And I can't stress this piece of advice enough. Don't be a pre-med drone, okay? Every pre-med wants to follow the well-beaten path. They want to have a 4.0 GPA. They want to score in the 95th percentile of their MCAT. They want to shadow a physician. They want to volunteer in the hospital. They want to volunteer in labs, get to know professors, sit in the first row. And you know what? These things are great, but you don't have to follow the well-beaten path. Medical schools are looking for uniqueness. They want to see how you, as a candidate, are different from the other thousands of applicants that they're going to have to sift through anyways. So do what you really like during these 3 or 4 years of your undergraduate education. Take part in the extracurricular activities that truly interest you. Take courses that traditional pre-meds would not take. Maybe they're in linguistics, maybe they're languages, maybe they're music courses, and do well in them. Don't be a pre-med drone. Show them that you are a unique applicant with very high academic abilities who can do really well on the MCAT. And then you've got a different standing. You have a uniqueness, light about your application that most other applicants don't have. And last but not least, and I think this is the most important advice that I can give you, make sure you maintain a high GPA. This is the most key piece of advice that I wish you could repeat to yourself every night. My goal is to maintain a high GPA regardless of what I take. Now, I'm not saying that people with GPAs that are average don't get into medical school. Of course, sometimes they do. However, your chances of getting into medical school are so much greater should you maintain a high GPA. The average medical school looks for a GPA around 3.7. The people who actually get in score around a 3.83 to a 3.9. And it's one of the first things that medical schools look at. If you have a low GPA or an average GPA, you're automatically flagged as a weaker candidate. Don't do this to yourself. In choosing your courses, make sure you choose courses that allow you to keep all the other pieces of advice that I've given you in mind, but make sure that your priority is to attain the highest GPA possible. Well, I've talked quite a bit enough about your major and choosing your courses. I hope you were able to learn some stuff, and I'm going to say goodbye here, and I'll see you next time. We'll continue talking about undergraduate studies. Bye for now.